So if you go to the main site on GitHub, our README actually has links to all the implementations. So there is a very healthy .NET implementation. Whoops. And you can see here the last check-in was last week, actually. This is, I believe this is this Nethermind that does this? Organization that's doing the .NET libp2p. They get some funding from the Ethereum Foundation and other places, and so they're maintaining this. And currently we're trying to get it into the interop testing, but you can see here, these are all the features, where they're at, their status. And if I look real fast here, my drive, reports. I compiled a dense update the other day that contains a bunch of statistics. So Go, Rust, JS, here you go. So in the last 30 days, they've, so negative numbers are closed and positive numbers are open. So they closed a couple of PRs, and there were 4 commits by 1 dev. You know, they got 51 stars. They're currently adding Kademlia support. That's their hot topic. So before I get off this page, does anybody want any more information on any of the implementations? Like, just shout out which one you want. Because I've gone through all of them and compiled. This is just for the last 30 days, but I have statistics for all the way back to the beginning of the year. Here's the C. Python. That one's near and dear to my heart because it's basically me and Paul Robinson. So a couple of PRs were closed over the last 30 days. There's a new one out. New issue was added. 3 commits, 1 dev. I didn't make a commit in the last 30 days, so it's just Paul's commit. But you can see here it's got 454 stars. Things they just recently did, or that Paul did, and I helped with, is the docs were completely refreshed. It was like what I was saying earlier. It's now compatible for 3.9 to 3.12. All tests run. I don't think all tests pass. But yeah, this is going to be the first release since 2020. It's coming up here real fast in the next quarter. And yeah, notes. Paul Robinson, the Ethereum Snake Charmers org, has taken over maintainership and brought it up to all up to date, including the docs. So you go through the getting started and get running. I really would love to see somebody take this and add to it just enough so that you can, even if all you're doing is using an HTTP gateway, just being able to understand CIDs and things and put it into like a PyTorch kind of thing and start pulling data for AI training from IPFS. I think that would be a really great demo. Anything else you guys want to see?
Thank you. So I just wanted to know, since you're getting all the feedback from the community, 2 questions, I guess, is what is the implementation that you've heard asked about that doesn't exist? Like which language or anything, if there is one? And then 2 is which one needs the most help, I guess? Like call to action for anybody watching in the future or anybody in the crowd here that can help.
Yeah, I don't think I've had a request for an implementation in a language that we don't have an implementation for.
Awesome.
There are a lot of joke ones that I think would be hilarious.
Brain.
You see, yeah, I mean,
Can we do one in Apple script?
I mean, but some like legit ones that might be kind of cool is to figure out how you can get one into a Scheme environment or into like a COBOL environment. There's still a lot of enterprise software running. Like I saw the other day, some piece of business software is written in COBOL, runs on an emulator of an old IBM, 370 or whatever. But that emulator was written in a language that we don't use anymore. And so it was the emulator itself was running inside an emulator. It was basically like 3 emulators deep running on some cloud server somewhere. But it was to get some COBOL stuff running. And I think it would be funny, if for no other reason than data exfiltration, right? Like COBOL libp2p might be really interesting. It's kind of a joke, maybe a meme, but...
Do we have a Lisp version?
We do not. We do not.
Would it have made all other versions obsolete in 1973?
Yes. Yeah. let's see. So before I answer your next question, I've put on if you guys go to that URL, that will get you into this document. So bust out your laptops, get us into this document. I've set up a couple of sections: community improvements, roadmap priorities. These were two that I suggested earlier, and everybody thought these would be really cool. I don't have any like roadmap priorities. Well, actually, I do. The one roadmap priority, if you're involved in any libp2p implementation, and your implementation is not in the interop testing framework, that should be your highest priority. So I'm just going to say interop testing framework additions. And I'm looking at you, JVM, libp2p.
We're in there.
You were in there already? Yeah. Damn it. Never mind. I think C++ is not in there. Python is not in there. And there's, et cetera. We got to get a few more in there so that we have broader coverage across them and make sure they can dial each other and receive dials and all that kind of stuff. So feel free to jump in here. Go nuts, write whatever you want. And we'll take like 10 minutes, let everybody just type whatever, and then we'll come back to it. But to answer your question there, Russell, about which one needs the most help? The things that are top of my mind, like what I just said with the Python libp2p, and with the advent of AI being so prolific, and there's more importantly a lot of funding that would be available to the community, having a better play in Python libp2p and having examples of like, hey, you can just pull all your data from IPFS. You can iterate over your model and generate stuff and put it right onto IPFS, or that kind of stuff. Sharding of training data and getting all of the training peers to talk to each other. Oh, I'm going to do this section. I'm going to do this section. That could all benefit from having Python libp2p and C++ libp2p, because those are the two languages that AI programmers use, C++ and Python. And we don't have a very good presence in either. So that is a big thing. Let's see. I think other things. I think the Go libp2p implementation. So the way I would judge what needs the most help, it's two pieces. It's the demand and how important, like how widely used it is, like how critical it is to existing infrastructure, combined with how little help, like what the bus factor is on it. And at the current moment, I would say, just to be honest, Go libp2p, because it is used in IPFS and Ethereum and all. It's a very critical piece of a lot of Web3 infrastructure. And currently, we have not enough people showing up. We have paid maintainers. There are maintainers that are being paid to maintain it, and it is a good piece of software. And there is a community, and there's lots of support. But it could use a lot more interest. It could use a lot more people using it in other projects. Which project would I love to see gain more maintainers? Python and Zig. I would love to see someone else help Marco get Zig, and make it bigger in their community. Does anybody else have any other questions about this? Keep typing away on this. I'd love to see more.
I have comments on Python libp2p.
Yeah.
I don't really agree with you that we should work on it, because if you look at the big Python library, NumPy, many AI things, the trick is like, it's the Python API, but they're actually calling to other implementation under the hood, usually much faster. Python is not known to be very fast. And I think I'm kind of like, if we don't have that many people and we already have good implementation in Go and C++, which we can FFI from Python, I would be interested to see a C++ or a Go implementation or even the Rust implementation mapped to a Python API and be able to call it from Python. It's already how many other Python ecosystem package in the Python ecosystem works.
So you're saying, so rather than put energy into Python libp2p, put energy into like getting Rust or C++ callable from Python.
Yeah, I don't want to tell other people like what they have to spend their time on, but if I had to do this, I would do this that way. I tried doing Go, but there's a compiler auto generation, but it's kind of bugged. It might be easier to do C++ or Rust because they map more closely to it's easier to use the C Python API.
So my other question then is, a lot of the AI training environments are pretty heavily restricted, especially if it's not your local training environment. They make a lot of assumptions about which libraries are available and things like that. They set up a Python environment and they only map in certain, C++ libraries or certain Python packages. The only thing that, I don't know the answer, but my pushback would be maybe if we had a pure Python implementation of libp2p, that would be the easiest way to get libp2p into these environments. Whereas if it were like C++ or Rust, especially if it was Rust, they're like, what? We're not doing the Rust toolchain, right? But we already have C++ stuff in there. We know that. So if we get C++ libp2p in there, that might be actually harder than to get a native Python implementation into it. That would be my only thought.
That's
right?
a good question. I doubt this would be a problem. So in Python ecosystem, usually you upload like already compiled shared libraries to the pip package repository. And so if you have Python, if you have Rust, it's like your problem to build it. But once it's uploaded, it's a shared library. It has you use Rust use CFFI, which are called Python FFI. And I'm thinking it should just work, but I haven't tried it. And I would hope that the sandboxing you're talking about would be done not at the library layer where they're filtering which modules you can use from Python, but at a lower level using virtualization and things like this. So we're not restricted. We can just like, it's a shell library. We have access to the environment. We can just use it. And the virtualization is one layer deep. But if it's what you're talking about, then a pure Python implementation would be very interesting, yes.
Yeah, I don't know enough to judge it either way. But I know that there might be issues that we run into. There is going to be something that will tell us which way is the right way. I'm sure of it. Great. I like to see that everybody's jumping in here. Please jump in. The URL is right there. Jump in and add some thoughts here. If you want to do a whole nother section, feel free to add that too. Any other questions about the community in general? Because it's my job to look at our numbers. It's my job to make sure that we have these events and that the health of all the projects is at least looked after. I've done a good job, I think, of getting everything unified on the webpage. Our blog is cleaned up. Our homepage has all of our calendar and our social buttons on it. Our calendar is now all over on Luma, so there's one place to know where all the meetings are. So if you have any community questions, I think this is the perfect time to ask. And I'll give it like 4 more minutes of throwing stuff on here, and then I just want everybody to go in and prioritize. So best way to do this, I think, would be to just, at the end of each one of these, just put an X character, just put an X if you think that one's the highest priority. What we're trying to do here is figure out what will be the top priorities going forward in terms of community, like what kinds of things we're going to do. I definitely want to start technical office hours. I think that's going to happen either way. And I would love to try to get people to do recorded live codings like, hey, I know you don't hear a lot about C++ libp2p, but here's how to do a demo peer that dials and discovers and discovers other peers and does a pub sub, and like have someone just live code it, record it while they're discussing what they're doing, and we'll put it on the libp2p channel. I think that kind of content will be extremely useful for us as a community. Should this people, yeah. General ecosystem improvements. I would say that. Just overall, like what can we do? What can I do? What can I organize to help grow this and get it more, adopted better? Let's see, what else? Oh, I was going to show you guys this. So I'm not sure you're aware of this, but we still do, the PL network still has the NDRES gathering. It used to be called an NDRES meeting or whatever, but it's now NDRES the gathering. It happens every month. And the June one did not happen, but I did do an update, rebranded. And I was going to go through some of this stuff because there's some interesting things on here. The stuff I wanted to call out for Q2 was that the WebRTC browser to browser is finished. Alex, would you air quote, browser to browser is finished? WebRTC browser to browser is good enough.
It is finished outside of browser bugs.
Outside of browser bugs, right.
Like the things that are more problematic now are sort of outside our control.
Right. But even with those browser bugs, as long as you keep your scope to a certain set of actions, like if you're not doing big Kademlia queries, right, you're not going to trigger those bugs. You can build useful things with where it's at right now.
Definitely, 100% yes.
Yeah. Okay. That's cool. And then AutoNav V2 has landed in multiple implementations. Guy, do you know if AutoNav V2 is in Go yet? Does anybody know if it's in the Go, like if it's actually landed? I'm pretty sure Sakun landed it. Like,
Yeah, it's tagged for the next release, so
Yeah, that's right.
it will be there shortly if it's not there right now.
right. And you can also see here, getting more implementations into, into the interop testing. Community stuff, we did, these are, so let me back up. The reason I'm showing you this is the most recent roadmap that I put together. And someone asked me earlier, what is the roadmap for Rust? But so I can give you the one for the whole community, but I don't have the very specific Rust one here. So there was some community stuff. We're doing the retro PGF funding. We talked about that earlier. libp2p day we're currently at. I've been trying to get regular maintainers calls for the .NET libp2p community, and maybe we'll try to get something with C++. Like once a month, come for 20 minutes just to say, here's what we're doing. Here's things that happened in the last month. Here's what we're going to do in the next month. And then going on in the second half of the year, I'm looking for anybody who wants to take our universal connectivity app and add more features to it. Maybe those will be live coding sessions. Yeah, I know. He and I have been talking about. So he sent me a bunch of like, hey, I can do. What was it? Channel files? No, it was private chats. But wait, where's the mic? Here, I got you. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so Seek, right? See, so Steve had already pushed a pull request, adding private chats and some styling fixes, and because he didn't have a profile image, I didn't know who he was, but we had sort of started merging some of the stuff, and only here did I discover that it was actually him. So kudos to him, and yeah, we're gonna add a little bit more, and that will probably build on some of the stuff that Alex is going to be showing on building custom protocols with JS libp2p. So that would actually be an example of a custom protocol that is already implemented. So cool
Excellent.
stuff happening all around.
Yeah, it took me a second to put your name in my head to your face and here in reality. And I was like, oh, that's right. So you're going to be able to pick up that work and get that across the line. It was awesome. He went out on a limb and just was like, I'm going to add this to universal connectivity. And he sent it. And then he asked one question right at the end about, I don't remember what it was, but it really kicked the bee's nest. It was because everybody came in and was like, whoa, no, you don't need to do that. And then everybody dug into your patches. And so there was a lot of feedback. There's still some things you need to fix to get it landed. It's fantastic work. It's just sometimes when you ask certain things about specs or protocols, you get a lot more energy than you wanted, I think. It's great though, but thank you so much for that. So just to continue, I think we want to get some new bootstrappers. I wish I had my pointer here, but new bootstrappers that support the hole punching signaling, specifically a JS libp2p bootstrapper would be fantastic. And again, new quick start examples. I actually saw 2 or 3 feedback notes earlier that there needs to be more getting started examples, I think in more languages and for different use cases. Definitely doing that. And then Guy's just doing DHT improvements. I put that on there. Hopefully we get some more stuff. The last thing I want to talk about in the community, this is not certain at this point, currently just starting the planning, but we're hoping to have another libp2p day at Dev Week in Bangkok. So set your calendars, get your visas, all the things lined up. I want to do it a little bit bigger than we have today, probably more hacking, less talking. And I also want to try to figure out a way to have a dinner where we can all end up in the same place, because I want to do the first ever libp2p community awards where we hand out recognition for people who've done really good work. So plan on being in Bangkok. We'll make it happen. I'm going to do everything I can to make it happen. And then the only other thing that I wanted to point out is that we don't have a presence really in the mobile space. And I think we're missing out on a massive opportunity. We have a JVM libp2p implementation that's compatible with Kotlin, right? Like it's basically the same thing. I'm not a Java programmer. I don't quite know. I'm rubbish at Java, as Alex likes to say about him and Go. And then we also have a Swift libp2p implementation. This guy named Brandon, he shows up to the meetings once in a while. He's been a one-man machine implementing libp2p in Swift. And that is an implementation that I think, in terms of opportunity, needs the most help. Because if we can get a solid Swift libp2p implementation and have demos of like, hey, this just goes right into your iOS app, right? That's a huge opportunity I think we could tap into. I have an experiment where I have a Rust libp2p implementation running on iOS, and I call it from Swift, but there's a lot of performance issues doing the FFI between Swift and Rust. So
We also have an example in the shipyard of JS libp2p running on React Native. It's linked in the doc now. Yeah.
nice.
It needs it so it supports WebSockets, it supports WebRTC. There's no web transport because Safari doesn't have it. But like TCP works to a degree. Like it needs some polish, but it is in there.
So it does work, and so you can build mobile apps with this.
60% of the time it works every time.
Do we? Do we have an example application?
We have a demo that runs and it shows you your peer ID, and then if you manage to find circuit relay servers on that are running WebSockets, which at the moment is mostly just the bootstrap nodes. So sometimes you'll get addresses and sometimes you won't because sometimes they don't have free slots. But it's there. It needs some work, but it's there.
Well, I'm going to offer to anybody who picks this up, I don't know, I'll figure out a prize. I'm not going to announce it on stage in a recording. But I think it would be cool to take the Universal Connectivity app, implement it as a mobile app using this.
Yeah.
Right? Who's going to demo that?
Could we also do a
A
Dart libp2p implementation?
Dart libp2p implementation. Yeah, absolutely. If you want to do it, absolutely. So who's going to demo, and this is metaphorical, including all the people watching the recording at home, who's going to show up in Bangkok at the end of the year and show us universal connectivity running on a phone using React Native, right, in the JS libp2p library? I'm laying the challenge down. If you call me and say, I've got it, I will put you on stage in front of everybody, and you'll probably get one of the first libp2p community awards, I promise. So anyway, back to, what were we doing here? How did we do on the docs? Oh, crap. That was not the right button. This is the right button.
Are you saying there are issues with Safari Mobile?
It's just the support for useful transports like web transport on there.
So it has to go through a relay?
No, it can use WebSockets, it can use WebRTC, or it can use TCP.
So where's the problem?
Can you use the microphone? It's right here. Or can we get him the microphone so we're getting the...
So what's not supported in the mobile browser?
So it's things like the API. So we use there's a native module for adding TCP support to React Native, and it uses this. On paper, it uses the same API as the Node module, but in reality, some things are missing, so it doesn't quite work properly. So the only real, it just needs work. It needs some polish. The only, the reliable transports are basically WebSockets and WebRTC. It's nearly there.
I was going to ask you, might as well do it on stage because that's always the best time to surprise somebody. What if we put JS libp2p on the libp2p.io homepage? What could we do that was interesting? That would do, like, if two people are looking at the homepage at the same time? Can we do anything interesting? Like, can we incentivize people to run peers? If you run a peer and give us a peer ID, then it'll activate it on our webpage, and then you can chat with other people. I don't know. And we can verify if your peer's running or something. I don't know. As the authentication mechanism.
Yeah.
Is there anything we could do that's just like go to libp2p.io? It should be running Rust or JS libp2p. It really should to do something. Put a game on it. That's a. Where's the mic? Sorry, Massey. I must record you.
I would put a game on it.
Put a game.
And then that would encourage people to
have the page open and then have the leaderboard and everything. Basically, archive, but on libp2p.io.
And if we
powered
did,
by libp2p.
if we did live stats, like how many people are online currently,
Yes.
and like what's the most we've ever seen at one time, that would
Yep.
be kind of cool too.
You do that, you'll never get rid of me, Dave.
What's your favorite game? Is it Flappy Bird? You just hit the space bar?
I'm easy to please. You just,
Just any game.
yeah, I'll be there.
We could
Alan-
turn the libp2p logo into like a 20-sided dice, and you hit the space bar, it just, or just a normal dice, it just rolls. That's all it is. Just a
I think
dice.
Alan has an idea.
Oh wow, there's a hand way back there behind the light.
Yeah, it's got to be Tetris, right? Because the logo is all pieces.
Is that that's not in
Multiplayer
public?
Tetris.
That's not in public domain yet, is it? I don't know.
We do
3D
multiplayer Tetris. So if there was Oak's talk yesterday about CRDTs for like syncing game state across like libp2p streams, and then we can have like a massively multiplayer online Tetris.
Massive. We could do those things where what do those game players do where they have all the people in their chat and they all vote for what the next move is. Like I watched this guy who plays Risk against a computer or plays chess against a computer, and there's just a whole bunch of people in the chat and they all vote on what the next move is, and then he has software that decides what move wins, and that determines his next move on the chessboard. We could do something like that.
I have another idea for you. Live community-powered Stack Overflow for libp2p. So whoever is online, they could have the browser open whenever they choose, and they can answer questions about how to do stuff in libp2p. And then you could have a leaderboard with ranking and whatever. And if you're not around, just close your browser, go away.
So it's like Stack Overflow, but it's chat based.
Yeah.
So it's live.
Right.
So it's like our office hours we're talking about, but
Exactly.
it's over chat.
It's
And
an
if any-
async office hour.
Right. And so so every time I log in, it's going to be a crypto scammer in there trying to get me to give them my wallet
Possibly.
keys.
One of the beauties of peer-to-peer networks, you gotta
Because you have no
make
idea
yourself
that.
dangerous, right?
I like the idea. I do like the idea, but I think we'll just have to figure out some authentication system. Maybe you tie it to your GitHub credentials or something, and so you have to be in the GitHub org or in the libp2p GitHub org. That would be an easy way to do it. Right. That actually is a really good idea. It solves two problems. Any other comments? Can we get you the microphone? And then we'll go through some of these priorities, and I'll have everybody vote if we can, real quick. Because we're about running out of time. It's about time to hack, finally.
Sorry, I'm too loud. Anyways, I just have one comment in terms of mobile support, because like a lot of people who are building mobile apps, they're basically building, for example, apps on multiple platforms, for example, some iOS, some Android, and they end up like having business logic implemented 2 times on like both platforms. And I think like people maybe don't understand like how easy it is to actually use like Go implementation, have business logic written in Go and just use Go mobile. And I just wanted to stress this out a little bit. So I think this would be maybe for a lot of people just an easy way to do this. And we, for example, utilize this in our project at any type. And I think that was very like easy for us to just implement whole business logic in Go and just go with this and benefit from the really robust, I guess, like library. So yeah, and maybe one thing, I think we about the improvements, right? So I think I remember it's maybe very like tiny topic, but still, like I guess the library which Golang utilizes is like ZeroConf or something like this for MDNS connectivity. I think like it's not really updated, and it has like somewhat a lot of bugs, it seems, from our usage with it, but I may be wrong. But at least it was like one PR from us, which we actually probably didn't really follow up on from your team, but still. But I think there were some other issues and so on, so it would be cool to just look at this. So anyways, yeah.
You said you filed an issue about it?
Yeah, but I think like you asked us actually something and we didn't really follow up. Maybe it was test, maybe so. There is definitely an issue on our side, but at the same time, like I think it still should be maybe addressed, like that the whole library and still approach to MDNS and the stuff, I guess.
Sure. I mean, go find the issue and tag tag Guy on it, or tag Droppo. He needs
Yeah,
work to
yeah.
do.
Okay, thanks a lot. Anyways, sorry for
Yeah, no,
taking too much time.
No, you are not. This is what this meeting is about. Okay. Anybody else want to bring anything up before we go through some of these? And I just want to ask, at the end of this, just go through and put an X. Like, give yourself 5 X's. Put an X by 5 different things to vote, like what you think your top priority is, and then I'll go and count the X's after all of them. Anybody? Yeah? Yes, you can put them anywhere. So Massey's question was, can I put all 5 of my X's on a single one? Like, yes, you can. I'm wondering what you're so passionate about. I'm going to make you in charge of it. It's the danger in an open source project. I'm really into this. Great, you're in charge.
I'm wondering, is libp2p JS robust enough to do video calls in browser?
Ooh, good question, Alex.
Sure. I mean, so we use WebRTC, but we don't use the video element of it. We just use the data channels. So, I mean, you could use WebRTC. You could use JS libp2p to make a WebRTC connection to a remote peer, and then use that to do an SDP handshake, a second WebRTC connection that the application would control. Like use libp2p to then do the SDP handshake to the remote. But we're primarily concerned with data rather than video chat.
Have you seen anybody try like demoing that or?
No, but it does come up from time to time because people say, "Oh, you use WebRTC. Oh, can I use that for video?"
But no one's built it. You haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it, but I'm sure people have tried.
That's,
You got a demo?
that's approximately what Keat is doing with Hyper.
Yeah, I wanted to say about the WebRTC thing. I did it. It's like a couple lines of code. I guess should be an example somewhere. Like it's very not interesting. Like it's if you know how to do WebRTC in the browser usually, and doing it with libp2p as the signaling mechanism, it's you do like everything normal. You send the SDP along. So the example looks very boring because it just does the thing you think it does. But it should be an example somewhere. Yes.
Okay. Let's just go through some of these real quick. We've already talked about technical help office hours, recording live coding examples. Does anybody want to comment on the details on libp2p.io update? Is the C?
It says it's .NET. It's not .NET on the list of implementation. On the libp2p implementation right now, it's not .NET.
Oh, in here in the implementations page?
Yeah, on table, there's no .NET. I was just saying there's no .NET in the list of implementation.
PRs are gratefully accepted.
So this page needs to be updated for sure because
Yeah.
some of these, it's not even a column in here. Some of these dots are not correct. Things have changed. Okay, I'll take that upon myself to make sure that page gets updated.
Awesome.
More interop between languages. Okay, that was you, Droppo. That's cool. libp2p school.
So we kind of brainstormed the ideas for the landing page, like a chat and different things. Should we host a discussion on specs or somewhere so we can get more community input from people that aren't here, get some ideas, and like we did with some of the renaming stuff a while back, and pick something?
What do you mean,
for
specs?
No. So you were talking about the chat, something to encourage people running P2P nodes.
Yeah, I mean, if we can get them to be on our homepage and they're running JS libp2p peers and that becomes an active thing in the network, yeah, for sure. If we could put whatever game Massey wants to play on the homepage. Yeah, that's what we're trying to encourage is how do we get more peers?
Yeah. So should we open that question up to the community or
Yeah. No, that's a good thing.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm going to leave this document up for a couple of weeks after this because it's in the recording, and so I'll put this link up so everybody can get to it and we can add more to it. So, Yeah, let's put that in here. Let's say subheading 2, ideas for encouraging, whoops,
Dave, I have
peer,
another one for you.
yes, Massey.
Do you remember that graph you showed for the number of live peers, the 200 threshold?
Yes.
So if there are enough peers online on the libp2p.io, then you could have this anonymous, magically working bootstrap server for people.
Yes, you could. You could have distributed bootstrapping.
Yep.
So
Which is powered by people just visiting libp2p.io. So wherever you want to provide the service to libp2p network, just open your browser.
So this was a talk that I gave yesterday, and what he's talking about is this graph right here. This was the result of some math, but we also proved this out empirically. What Massey's talking about, and I don't have my pointer, but I can walk over and point at it in a second. What you're looking at here is on the left, on the y-axis, is the number of hours in a day that a peer is online on average. So like the current global average is that our mobile phones are online for 4 hours a day-ish, right? So that's the y-axis. And then the x-axis is the number of peers in the network that are quote-unquote reasonably connected. And I think the threshold we were working at was like, was either knew about or could discover more than 50% of the peers in the network. So of the active peers currently. And I'm not sure if that heuristic is accurate or is the best heuristic, but it was basically like, do you know about at least half of the network? Okay. As a connectedness measure. And that doesn't mean your routing table has their IP addresses and they're dialable. It just means that you've either seen them or you have access to a mechanism that you can get that information. So like there are other peers that, and I think we went out 2 hops deep. So if the routing table is 2 hops deep or the gossip or whatever could make 50% of the network reachable, then you were well connected. And so all it really took was a peer to like know 4 or 5 other peers well, and going 2 hops deep, you get that. So what this shows you though is that the curves are the probability that when one peer starts randomly, what is the probability that another peer is online that they can connect to? Okay, so these are probability curves, and the interesting thing is that the blue one is 5/9 probability, and if you go on the y-axis to what our mobile phones are at like, well, being conservative, you say like 2 hours a day, you need roughly about 200 peers in that network to have a 5/9 probability that if you turn your phone on, you can connect to at least one other peer in that network. And it becomes a meta-stable network in the sense that there's no fixed infrastructure, but that network exists because there are peers connecting and talking to each other. And so the one that I like to point out, and I'm going to call on Dietrich here. I'm not asking for anything, Dietrich, but I want to get your attention. One of the interesting things is that prior research that I've done is that I would estimate that a healthy open source project has about 40 to 50 quote unquote active people who show up, people who talk on the discussion forums or hang out in the chat or whatever. They're not necessarily coding, but are present, like mentally present. And if you go to the 99% line, which is the orange line, and you go down to 60, you can see also that you only need about 2 to 3 hours of average uptime for the peers. So if you had a healthy open source project and we had a peer-to-peer networking app that ran on our phones, we would always be connected, always. And we wouldn't need any servers. And if we were doing things like CRDTs of Git repos and we had a fully decentralized IAM system, then we could get rid of GitHub entirely and we would exist outside of the world as it's known right now, because you wouldn't be bound to DNS, you wouldn't be bound to web servers, you wouldn't be bound to GitHub, you wouldn't be bound to Gmail or anything like that. I think it's a pretty, for lack of a better term, it's a pretty subversive plan, actually. It's like we exist and we don't need permission to exist. And And libp2p, by the way, has more than 60 active members. If you add up all the people who hang out in our chat, all the different people who hang out in our discussion forums, all the people who commit code, and you dedupe them all, it's like somewhere between 80 and 100, depending on which month of the year it is. So it is well within our grasps that we have not only the expertise, but we also have the software, and we also have the hardware. All we have to have is the will to do it. We are the first people on this planet that could actually do this. Have you guys realized that? Like, let that sink in for a second. Yeah, we might do it just to write software, but what else could we do? What else could other people do, other communities do that have other priorities if we gave them the software? If we gave them the ability to do it? I don't know. It's a thing that's really exciting to me because I hate having to ask for permission. I hate having people between me and what I want. And this would be like the ultimate on the internet. Like, we don't care. We exist outside of whatever system you're using to control us. I don't know. Anyway, if you're, this talk was recorded yesterday. I'm not going to go through it anymore. So if you want to see it or you want to talk about it, happy to do so. So let's back to libp2p. By the way, that is actually the reason why I love the libp2p community and why I put so much energy into it, is actually that, because I want to see that happen. It is such an empowering thing, and it's not a thing that's available to anybody right now. Everybody's sort of working on it, but we're also trying to make money, and sometimes, most time, those two things are in conflict and money wins out. I think that's why it doesn't exist. But we have the ability to do it. I don't know, I just think we should. Be kind of fun. If for no other reason, we can make some really cool t-shirts. Like Dietrich had a really great idea earlier. We need a t-shirt that says open source is a team sport, right? Yeah, it's a good one. Anyway.